Well, he gambled when he went to Vegas. We went one time to Vegas to do a show out of there, and he ended up leaving $40,000 there and with the boys. With us, we always played poker, and he was a good poker player. He did know how to play poker, and we had a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, as soon as we got through shooting a scene, we were off to the gaming tables, and with Doberman lumbering behind us.
And that's Maury Brenner.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy was one of the stars of Sergeant Bilko. Now, you played the part of Fleischman.
That's right, yeah. I started originally in the show as the original Doberman when we shot the pilot, and I was used basically to be sure that he wasn't going to ask for a raise in salary. I became Trayvis Fleischman.
Not bad. Are you sure that's your brother with his arm around your sister?
Yeah.
Looks an awful lot like you.
Like me? You kidding? He's got a full head of hair. Come on, what do you say?
Hey, is that a horse in the background?
Yeah.
How come it's pulling a streetcar?
Now, another guy is Jackie Gleason.
His weight went up and down. He had, he had all kind of pants like this and pants like that to accommodate his waist. But he was a very dear friend of mine. He used to tell me that he got his phrase, "Away we go," from an old Broadway show called Away We Go, which later on became Green Grow the Lilacs and then became Oklahoma.
Now, both Gleason and Phil Silvers are from Brooklyn, but those shows, probably the two greatest sitcoms.
I love Loosely. I'm glad you mentioned Gleason, because when Jackie Gleason was on vacation, there was a thing called the DuPont Summertime Special hosted by Jack Carter. Remember the name of Jack Carter?
Yes, the comedian. Yeah.
Very funny man. And they were watching one day when I was interviewing Elvis Presley on the same panel with Anne Margaret Olson, who later on just became Anne Margaret. And they called up Elvis Presley, and they got him on that show with Jack Carter. And from Ed Sullivan watching that show with Jack Carter, he signed up Elvis, and we know the big controversy. But
so you mean Elvis was on
my
Jack
show?
Carter's
My show first.
First your show, then Jack Carter's,
and then on Ed Sullivan third.
Wow. How about Tony Danza?
Tony Danza is one of my dearest friends. I was walking the street about a month ago, and he pulls up in the limousine, sticks his head out, says, "Joe Frank." He stops traffic, and we kissed each other. And he had his own TV show once, remember? I went to see him, he used to hug me and kiss me. Then
well, that's what happened. I was with you. We went back to Channel 7.
Right.
Because that's where you started.
He was on every day after Regis Philbin for a whole hour.
Yeah, and now you're waiting backstage to say hello. He finishes the show. He comes out, and he gives you the biggest hug and the biggest kiss.
I love Tony Danza.
Yeah,
he's really star material.
Okay, now, Vincent Gardenia was Brooklyn born and bred, but he did a movie that he did other movies, but the one that always sticks with me is Moonstruck.
With Cher?
Yes.
And with, I think she won the Academy Award that year.
Yes.
And she was up against a dear friend of mine named Sally Kirkland, who made a movie called Anna, and she was nominated for the Academy Award. I felt sorry for Sally. She's such a nice lady, but Moonstruck had a much bigger budget for propagandizing the movie with the Oscar voters, but
who else was in it?
Danny Aiello.
Right.
And I made a big movie with Danny Aiello called 29th Street. Big. I'm in the opening scene, which runs about 12 minutes, and
well,
I got a big residual check the other day, about 7 cents.
Really?
Yeah. So it's.
You see, in 1966, 5 nights a week, I would hang out at a place that you know well called the Improvisation.
Sure.
And the bouncer was Danny Aiello.
That's where they all broke in, by the way.
And he, all the young comics and the singers, but Danny was the bouncer. And then there was a girl singer. Her name was Bette Midler.
Who was my secretary for
right.
like 9
so,
months.
I mean, this is where they started.
Her big song called The Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B came from my sheet music collection.
That's what, the Andrews Sisters?
They made it famous. And Bette, if you watch, we're dear friends. If you got that sheet music around the house, I'd love to have it back, because my collection is incomplete without it. I got her a job. Well, she was originally at the Improv, and then she became the hat check, the coat lady at the place where they had the orgies. I forget what it was. It was a famous
Continental
place.
Baths?
Continental Baths, right.
Yeah.
What would you say? Her arm was tight from helping men put on their coats. But I got her a job in Fiddler on the Roof with Zero Mostel as one of Tevye's daughters. So that career.
You got her that job?
I got it, of course. I said it to the
Because I think right before you got her that job, she worked for me for nothing.
No kidding.
At NYU, I did a weekly variety show. Nobody got paid. Nobody paid admission. And Bette Midler performed on different nights. Every Friday night, we had Richard Pryor, Robert Klein, Rodney Dangerfield, David Brenner.
All my proteges.